Nobody said it would be easy. Nobody said that it would all be fine. But to get where we're going, brother, you gotta hold the line. It ain't a matter of if, no, it's just a matter of time. But to get where we're going.
Hello, lovelies. Baldur's Gate 3 seems to have set the cat amongst the pigeons in the video game developer space, which is interesting. It seems that a whole bunch of devs are upset in that apparently this game sets a very high bar for other games in terms of content and depth and polish, and not being nickeled and dimed to the end of the earth, and having been released in what appears to be an actually finished state. But then again, I guess it was on open access for eternity, so all of that amount of testing and so on must have paid off, even if it was paid for by people who bought it early. As ever, however, it is the discourse about the discourse that I find more fascinating. It seems to be a big, sprawling, successful game. Some rockstar bullshit, as some wag put it, probably thinking of Red Dead Redemption when they said it. Some devs seem to be upset. They feel that they're being blamed for that landscape of microtransactions, unfinished releases, crunch time, and all the other nonsense we've come to expect from the computer games industry over more than the last decade. Some have even dared to compare the current state of affairs, the pushback that is riding on the wave of Baldur's Gate 3. They've compared it to Le Gasp Gamergate. And you know what? They're not wrong. They're just not right in the way that they think they're right. Yeah, a lot of devs took up against Gamergate, and despite of what you might have heard, and how some people tried to latch onto it later on and use it, it really was at its heart a left liberal movement that was for ethical games journalism, against corruption, and against censorship. Those were the main defining things about it. Things that have always been associated with the left wing and liberals. There was an opportunity there during Gamergate for devs to side with the outraged community and to fight back and join their voice with theirs as they fought for their own creative rights and freedoms against censorship, against corruption in games media and from games publishing companies bribing people, or nepotism and other issues within game journalism. You know, they weren't getting a fair crack of the whip most of the time because of all this corruption. And here was a golden opportunity to fight back and get some kind of integrity going on, and to retain the freedom to create the kind of games they wanted to, whether they included fan service or not. And they passed that by, didn't they? All those things that people were complaining about that was harming developers as much as anyone else, and they completely dropped the ball. And what are they doing this time? They're fucking it up again by lashing out at their own community, the people who consume the things that they create and who are annoyed. It's not the devs to blame so much as the publishers and the suits, whatever the video game equivalent of studio interference is in films. Publishers chasing unrealistic deadlines, trying to force games to fit whatever is the latest greatest trend or whatever. Over monetization, corporate censorship, pressure group censorship, and worse. This isn't really so much to do with the devs. And it wasn't really the devs that people were angry with. It was the suits, the higher ups, who keep fucking things up, not letting games just be what they are. So here comes another emergent grumble from the consumer base, and do the devs side with the community against the suits, using that strength to leverage for better working conditions, better deadlines, less interference and so on, better games with more integrity in the future? Of course not. What did you think was going to happen? No, instead they attack the consumers and the handful of journalists still capable of doing a good job. So, slow claps all around. But frankly, none of us who've been around since 2014 would have been expecting anything different, I don't think, at this point. The other thing that's fascinating about Baldur's Gate 3 is how it relates to Wizards of the Coast, 5th edition D&D, and the recent movie Honor Amongst Thieves. While Wizards has been fucking everything up since at least January, Baldur's Gate 3 has made $236 million and counting just on Steam, just on PC, since the 3rd of August. In comparison, Honor Amongst Thieves has made $208 million total since March. Wizards hasn't really had much in the way of tie-in material for either, and if there was any focus at all, it seems to have been more on the film than the computer game, which is old-fashioned thinking. It's a predictably stupid mistake, given that the video game industry has been bigger and arguably more influential than the film business for some time now. What's more, I'm hearing, I haven't had a chance to play yet, I'm waiting for the console port, but I'm hearing that Baldur's Gate 3 isn't much like Wizards' version of D&D at all, other than the rules. There are parts that are difficult. Your characters can die and experience nasty things with no resort to an X card. Sure, you can reload, so death doesn't quite have the same impact in a computer game as at the tabletop, but still, all things considered, whether it's giant fucking or bear fucking or whatever else is going on, it seems to be somewhat edgy, dare I say, and irreverent. It seems to be taking a few risks, while we might roll our eyes at the bear fucking, at least, it's a little bit risky as well as risque. This game seems to be everything that 5th edition D&D isn't. Challenging, a bit edgy, but over and above anything else, fucking popular. That seems to me to be something you might want to emulate or cash in on, Lessons to be learned, which won't be. In the immortal words of David Byrne, same as it ever was, same as it ever was, same as it ever was, same as it ever was. It's been called misogynistic, racist, a hate group, reactionary. It's been blamed for Trump, for keeping women out of games and technology. None of this is true. If you want the real story, then you need to buy Inside Gamergate.
Your nerves, it's prohibited. Your driver is their training.